Today is my whole experience, the last 3 months of missing out on telling you guys how my pregnancy was. If any of your future girlfriend or anyone will be pregnant anytime soon, just let them know whatever method they, give birth, it's going to be painful AF, and that you guys will be having to support her and doing everything. So that's something I learned throughout this whole experience. So it's been 3 months since I gave birth, and almost 3 months. In 6 days it'll be 3 months. And let me tell you, it was disaster. So I quit stream. What was the last day I quit stream? So I quit stream May 7th, and I would have to say that was literally 5 days before I gave birth. So I worked, quote unquote, worked till, yeah, my last, yeah. My 7th, wow. So my mom came on the 7th, and I went to the hospital that morning on May 7th, and or the day before, I think, and they told me, oh, the baby hasn't come down yet, right? Which means, like, you're not getting ready to give birth. And I was like, damn. And I didn't want to do the induced labor because, I don't know, it just feels like I want the water to break. I want the feeling of the water breaking. And in the movies, the water just breaks and you're just kind of like, oh, my water broke. I wanted that moment. So I was like, okay, what are some ways for my water to break? And they were like, you just got to walk a lot. You have to be tired. That was like their main part. So they actually told me to go to the hair salon and get your hair done, really fancy hairstyle, because it was safe at that moment, and I needed to do something that like was tiring my body, and obviously sitting in the chair was one of the things. So the whole week I basically walked every day. I read a lot of vlogs and like figured out how people gave natural birth, and the main thing that they did was walk 10,000 steps. So I was like, okay, that's one of the goals I'm gonna do. So I walked 10,000 steps every day. I was doing yoga every day. I had that ball. You guys remember the ball I had? I was like bouncing on the ball. I was like rolling on the ball and doing everything for this baby to come down. So I did that for 5 days, and on the day of, it was actually the Sunday. My mom and I and my husband went to Haenggu, Hwasong. Do you guys remember the drama setting place that I like to take you guys? I went there like twice for my RL stream. I went there with my mom, and that morning I was feeling exhausted. But I thought it was just like, oh yeah, like I'm basically walked in 10K steps a day and I have this much weight on, so obviously I should be tired, right? I was feeling tired and I was kind of feeling the cramps, but I have been feeling the cramps for the past 5 days. So I was like, well, this isn't really much. Well, so I went to Hwasong with my mom. I took pictures. I was like, oh, this is where they filmed attorney Woo Young-woo, and this is where they filmed blah, blah, blah. I was like showing her around, and I was like, this is really cool. I was getting a little tired, but we also needed food to eat during the day. So we went to the side dish company not company, sorry, the side dish store that Mia's family went to, and we bought a bunch of food, and we came home, we ate, and I was like, I'm feeling a little tired. I took a nap. And then I was like, okay, mom, we have to go out. I need to do that 10K walk. I was at maybe like 2K. So I was like, I don't know. I was just generally being very, like workaholic. Hardworking. You guys know me. I like to work hard. So I was like, Mom, let's go out for another walk. And she's like, are you sure? You're giving birth in like 2 days, because I scheduled my induced labor on the 13th. But I was like, I have nothing to do. I'll just like walk around. I'll enjoy the view. So, you know, my mom was like, okay, fine. So we went out and I walked around and I was feeling tired. I definitely was feeling tired and exhausted and in pain. That was the three thing that was like a sign of Jinri. Maybe you should either go to the hospital or figure things out. Well, so I went for like an hour and 30-minute walk. I actually did a walk, which was surprising. So I went around and walked around. And that night, I took a shower. And it's okay. You know, taking a shower wasn't a big problem. I laid down. Mia was working. He had some jobs to finish, and he was calling. No, he was calling his dad about the baby's name because, you know, obviously the baby's coming out in 3 days. So I was on my phone looking at shorts. I was like, oh, this is fun. And all of a sudden, I felt this snap. Whoa. Like below here. It was just like a snap. And I was like, what the fudge? And I felt something drooling. And it was the most weirdest feeling. I don't know how to like describe it, but it just something snapped. Something really snapped down there. So I was like, what the heck? And I suddenly was feeling a bit of pain after that snap happening. So I went to the bathroom. I ran and I checked my undies and I had this much of liquid on my undies. And I was like, what is this? It wasn't blood. And you know, like you watch the movies and you expect like of water, you know, I watched the girl who was playing what's that, like tennis type of ball game that's popular in the US. You know, she does a slam and then suddenly her water just breaks and everything on the floor is just super wet. That's pickleball, thank you. That's what I was expecting, you know? You expect the water to break as in something was like, bah. But for me, it wasn't that. It was just kind of like, eh. So I was like thinking really hard, you know? Like I was thinking really hard on my bed. I was like, is this water break? Should I go to the hospital? What if I go there and they're just kind of like, oh, why'd you come here, right? Why'd you come here for this? I didn't want that. I don't know. I thought that was kind of like an embarrassing moment, right? So I'm just like, oh, I don't know what to do. So I went to my mom. She was like getting ready to sleep. And I was like, hey, mom, I don't know. I feel like my water broke, but I'm not sure. And my mom, when her water broke, was the movie water break, like of bah. So she she checked my undies, obviously, because she's my mom, and she was kind of like, I don't think this is water break. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, but I'm starting to get the pain. And that's what I told her. That was kind of like the sign of her telling me to go to the hospital. She's like, I think maybe you want to go to the hospital, or do you want to call the the labor room, because they told me I could call them, but like I said, this was like at 11 p.m. I was getting ready to sleep, right? I had my PJs on and I was like in bed watching shorts to go to bed. So I was like, oh shoot, I don't know, man. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll go to the hospital. I'm feeling a little iffy, you know? You have this like gut feeling that if I don't go to the hospital, the baby's gonna come out of my house. So I wrote a letter to me. I should show it to you guys. It's pretty funny. I wrote to him, I think my water broke, in Korean, because he was on a call and I was like, dude, like hang up the call. I went into the room and he was just kind of like, what's up? And he's like calling, right? He's like calling. And I wrote on a piece of paper, I literally wrote, my water broke. I wrote, you know, I showed him this paper. I was like, I think, like, and you know, he's on the phone. He's like, oh yeah. Excuse me. I think I have an emergency right now. So I think we have to hang up. So he hung up. He's like, what? I was like, I don't know, something happened, like something snapped and I'm feeling the pain and I'm having a hard time walking. And he's like, okay, you know, he hasn't washed that day, right? He hasn't washed his hair and everything, but he has to get ready to go. So he's like, what do I do? What do I prepare? Where should I get ready? I was like, go change, put on something, and like get ready. And then I'm like, I was like, I don't know what to do. And mom was like, you should wear the diaper. You know the adult diaper, because I bought that beforehand, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. But I was like, it's like very little water. But she was like, if the water breaks on the way, you're gonna ruin Mia's car, right? So I was like, okay, I wore the undies. And from that on, I was feeling a really, really strong pain of, holy cow, I'm about to like, hold my belly out or something. Like I wanted to like squeeze my gut out for this baby to come out right now. I actually have a video shortage of me being like, hi guys, I don't know. I was obviously like creator mode, being like, I'm going to vlog my moment of giving birth. So I have a video. I'm saying, hi guys, I'm on the way to the hospital. But I think my water just broke, and so I'll keep you guys in touch. I don't know, Jinri's, going crazy. And again, I had that drama, movie moment of, should I grab onto Mia's hair if I'm feeling the pain? But yeah, it wasn't that strong. It was just kind of like, oh, it's like, someone's holding onto your balls. That's kind of what it feels like, maybe for a guy to understand. And for girls, it's just kind of like, someone holding onto your boobs, like squeezing your boobs really hard. So I was like, okay, it's not like I don't have to grab onto his head. So it took 20 minutes to drive to the hospital, which wasn't that bad, right? So on the way, there was no more water break, so my undies was kind of pointless. But we got there, and my hospital was pretty interesting. It was in the basement. I think it's because you'd be hearing women scream their gut out. And so it was in like this hidden door that like you had to call for you to, and then the nurse had to come out for us to go in. It was like a secret hidden door. And so me and I called, we ringed, and they were like, hello. And I was like, I think my water broke. They're like, okay, have you called us? And I'm like, no, we just came. So they come in and they're like, okay, they did like a quick checkup of like contraction, dilation. Yeah. So they were like, have you checked the time for those? The intervals of the contraction. Okay. Yeah. The intervals of the contraction. And I was like, maybe it wasn't very, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be counting. So I was like, it's not that bad. Maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I have it right now running. And they were like, okay, well, we're gonna let you come in. And I was like, okay, and they make you put your shoes away. And so they wanted to check up on me. And so I get to the chair, I get to the bed, and they're like, change, so me in pain, I'm taking pictures. You sometimes get like good benefits, so I'm like taking pictures. Oh, this is what I'm wearing. I'm feeling this pain, but I'm like vlogging, content Jinri mind, like, oh, the bathroom's there, maybe I'll do a review on the bathroom. This is the bed. Oh, I'm gonna get IV. I'm getting ready, like taking pictures. I'm going crazy. So I get to the bed, and the lady comes in, and they're obviously checking up how wide my vagina has opened. And they were like, the water has it's like it didn't break, but it's leaking. So we'll just keep you here for now, we'll keep you. We won't be able to give you the, what was that word again? The doctor who gives the epidural isn't here, because obviously I told you this was like 12 a.m. 12 a.m. The doctor's not there for epidural. So we can give you like a painkiller that's through my butt, but the epidural has to wait till 9 in the morning, because that's when he comes at 9 or 8 in the morning. So I was like, okay, well, the pain wasn't strong, so I think I can withstand it, right? So they were doing all these different testings. They tested to see if I had any allergic reactions to the medication or the fluid they were gonna put in, and then they were, you know, like injecting me with all these fluids. And the worst thing of this is the bathroom. In the US, I see that you walk around, you can go to the bathroom and come out, right? For some reason, in this like hospital, they didn't allow you to do that. So when you had to give, so they give you a bucket and you have to sit on the bucket, but you can't really sit on it because they have another like device on my stomach that measures the baby's heart rate. So I have to like, so this is how you put on the bucket. I'm laying down like this, right? This is me. I'm like 100% laying down. I have to not give strength down here as much because obviously there's a huge gigantic like baby here. I have to lift my torso. I have to squeeze. It's not only like watery down there, it's also bleeding down there. I have no clue what was going on down here, but that's what was happening. I'm here and I had to tell Mia to go away because he's in the room. But it's embarrassing. But I'm like, okay, turn on the water. And I'm like peeing, right? I'm peeing right now. I'm like peeing. And then obviously I have to take the bucket out. I'm like, okay, I take the bucket out like this again. And I have to give it to Mia for him to throw it away. The most shittiest experience ever, guys. Oh my god. It was just so embarrassing. And that's the worst thing. So I've like heard the worst thing about giving birth. Top 3 is, number 1 is when they have to shave your hair down there. So a lot of women actually get waxing done before going to give birth because they're embarrassed. But that wasn't like a big deal for me. It just felt like I was at a wax shop that was like trimming too, and I just told her, oh, I'm sorry you have to do this. And she's like, it's okay, I've done it so much. She's like cutting down there. So she's okay. Yeah. So I think that was like the biggest moment. And the second moment is when they have to give that like poopy medicine. Where like you're supposed to, they want everything out of your intestines before giving birth, especially during induced labor. And I didn't have to do that because I don't know, I guess they told me, I asked because I was curious to see how long I could withstand it. And yeah, I think it's laxative. They say to withstand it for like 10 minutes before you go to the bathroom, but a lot of people like can't resist it till like for maybe 2-3 minutes and they're like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom. That's also like the most shittiest moment during birth, and obviously like giving the actual birth is like the most shittiest moment. But for me is when I have to pee in front of my husband. I mean, we've been married and like living for a very long time, but I've never peed in front of him. Like, I'm not gonna be like, hi, let's open the door and pee. We're literally right over. Peeing is also him having to take my pee and dumping it out. That's the most, oh dear lord, yeah. So that was, I think that was like the most worst thing. So, and funny story is I was drinking a lot of water right before it, so I was peeing consistently, like literally every 5 to 10 minutes. I was like, oh shoot, Mia, pee. He's like, bucket, okay, go turn water and stay in the bathroom and don't come out. He's like, okay. He turns on water. He's like there waiting for me to pee and not even looking at me, like looking at the bathroom, be like, oh, there's like nice tiles, you know. And I'm like, ugh, like I'm in pain, right? So I'm like peeing, and he's like, okay, are you done? Yes, here, there's blood and pee and crap in this bucket. And like the whole time I'm like, Mia, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's okay, you're giving birth. I was like, okay. Oh, so that was like the worst moment. Yeah, so the painful thing, when they were putting this needle in, the needle compared to other needles were really thick. And so I was shocked. It was like this big. of putting it inside my arm. And it wasn't like here where I'm always used to, because when you're giving birth, if you put it here, because the wife moves around so much, they usually don't put it there. They usually put it like up here, but it's like super thick, right? I was like, how the fudge are you gonna put that thing in? Luckily, they could see my vein very well, so they were able to inject it. But like, I've heard some people, if they can't see their veins, they poke it multiple times, and then that's like the hardest moment. So luckily it went it right away. But I'm usually okay with people sticking needles inside my body, like, arm. I've done this, taking blood drawn out. It's not that bad. But this needle was, holy cow. Wow, it was another experience. I was like, they were like, it's going to be really painful. I was like, psh, like, how bad could it be? And I was like, so all the prepping of me, like getting the bucket ready, putting this button on my stomach for the baby's heart rate and everything, that pre-setup took like an hour. And after that, Mia could finally come in. They didn't allow Mia to come in before. So that was pretty interesting. But he came in, it's like 12. He wanted to wash, but he couldn't. He didn't even take a nap. Unlike me, I took a nice nap, so I was feeling okay. And so he was like, oh my god, I'm so tired. And I was like, Mia, it's okay. You can sleep. I don't think the baby's gonna come out anytime soon. He was like holding onto my hand. So, we were doing that, like talking for like an hour or two. And he was like, oh my god, I can't. He's like trying really hard to stay awake. I was like, Mia, it's okay. You can take a nap at the chair. They give you like a really crappy chair too. They give you a incliner, so they don't give you like a bed. So he's like, okay. He sits there. He's on his phone. He's like half asleep. I was like, Mia, put the phone down. Why don't you sleep now? Because the baby's not gonna come anytime soon. So it's better for you to rest now than later, right? So he's like trying really hard not to like fall asleep, but he's like, okay, I'll sleep. So he's taking a nap. And like that whole time I was cursing him. I was like, why the fudge are you sleeping? Because I thought it would be okay. The moment when I said that, I wasn't feeling that bad of a pain, but the moment, like maybe 20 minutes after he fell asleep, the pain was getting stronger. Like, I don't even remember how the pain felt because it was so bad that I was just kind of like, so obviously I'm like, I'm trying to do that like breathing method of like inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. I had like saying mokoko, mokoko. So, I'm feeling this pain and I'm like, I gotta breathe. Or else this baby's not going to, come down. So I'm breathing, right? I'm breathing, but at the same time, I'm cursing. Why the fudge aren't you waking up when your waifu is having this pain? That's the whole thing. That's the whole message I'm saying right now. Oh, I'm dying. Oh my god, please wake up. Why aren't you waking up? Right? I'm having like, this crazy Jinri going on. And I think maybe like 30 minutes to like an hour passed by. And all of a sudden, this pain was not like a steady pain. It was like, I have to poop right now pain. Before, it was just squeezing. Okay, they're squeezing a little harder. Okay, now it looks like maybe like like a very strong muscular man squeezing onto my gut. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna be feeling it that well. Okay, I'm gonna maybe like, yell at him for squeezing my gut. That was what I was feeling. Now, this feeling was a little different. It was like, holy cow, I want to poop right now, but the poop is stuck. And I can't do anything about it. And the increment was getting shorter of, so that whole time I was like, right? I'm like dying. And so all of a sudden, while I was feeling, like I said, it was like maybe this was 3 or 4 in the morning. They cut down they turned all the lights off because they wanted me to rest and take a break and try to sleep if you can. That's what they told me. So, you know, they had the lights off. All of a sudden they rush in, turn the lights on, and they're like, okay, let's kind of check your opening. They were checking. I don't know how they do it. They maybe use their finger. They obviously they stuck their finger in. They were like flipping things around, and I'm like holding onto the bars next to me, be like, oh, I don't know what this feeling is. I don't know. Like, I want to poop, but I can't poop. And they're like, okay, mom, it's been open to 10 centimeters. I'm like, huh? Huh? It's only been 4 or 5, maybe 3 hours? You mean it's open? They're like, yup, it's been 10. Okay, don't push it out right now. We have to set it up, so don't try to push it out. Don't give any more strength. Just breathe and relax, okay? Funny story. Now, you know, that's me going on. Mia, he's sleeping, remember? He's sleeping in his recliner like this with his hat on. Right? Lights turn on. He's like... Husband's like... he can't wake up. He has his glasses on. He's like... Ooh! What? 10 centimeter? He's like... and funny story. So... in the hospital I went into, he's not allowed to watch the whole process because there's way too much blood out, and it's kind of weird. And so this time he's behind the curtains. He doesn't know what's going on. All he can hear is me being like, shit. That's all. So it's just ASMR for him. So that's what you guys will be hearing, right? So he doesn't hear the details. He doesn't see the details. All he can be doing is hearing the details, right? So he's behind the curtains. They sent him back there. Now, the mom side, they checked. They were like, yep, 10 centimeters open. What we're going to do is we're going to have to set things up. So please don't give you more strength. I think in Korea, because a lot of guys get grossed out by seeing down there because it gets really bloody and like super disgusting, they don't let him in, and there isn't a better setup for him to watch or like help hold my hand and everything. So they just put him behind the curtains, and that's what they did. So now this is where the transformer comes in. Before it was just kind of like a regular bed and everything. All of a sudden they got all these like fancy gears, and like they're rolling in all these like gigantic machines and everything, you know. And the whole time I'm like, ooh, you know, like it was like a straight bed, right? The bed all of a sudden becomes like transformer, where they can like have my legs go up like this, because that's like the official like birth thingy-mabobby. So like I'm seeing this transformer go on while not trying to push the baby out. So I'm kind of like, oh shoot, like ooh. So the nurse comes by. I'm like, can I hold your hand? She's like, oh yeah. I'm holding on. I'm like, I squeezed it really hard, right? I'm like, she's like, it's okay, mom. You gotta relax. We don't want the baby come out because we have to do all these setups. I'm like, this gigantic blue curtain, and then like the baby thing, the incubator is also there. They have this like bunch of tools out, and the nurses before they were just in this regular outfit. Now they have that like super fancy like the surgery gown on, and they're like, okay, we're getting ready, we have to call the doctor. I was like, oh, you were the doctor? Who the fuck were you? So the doctor came in. Oh, before the doctor came in, they now had to make the baby come really, really close to the bottom. So for me to do that, they were saying to me, okay, now it's time for you to push, because they had all the settings ready. They were like, okay, you have to push now. So to push, what you had to do was you had to curl up, and when they say go, you had to push down there. But it's not like the push of when you want to poop push. It's like when you, I don't know, like you want to, it's not even the pee push. Someone said it's like, I don't know, you are trying to get things out there, but it's not pee or poo. It's something else. There's something down there. I'm not sure what it is. It's not through the abs either. It was just so weird. But they give you like, okay, we're gonna, okay, oh, okay. They feel the contraction through the hands, right? And they're like, okay, we're gonna get ready. Okay, mom, I want you to push. When I give you the sign, I want you to give your hardest. So don't make any sound. Okay, I was like, okay, what the heck does that mean? Right? But they were like, okay, I'm ready, I'm ready. And then they were like, okay, push. I was like, right. I'm like, oh, and they're like, okay, don't make sound. Ah, shit. But it's hard not to make sound, right? So I was like, okay, you gotta give some more. You gotta give some of that energy. And I just spit in the mic, but you have to give more energy down there, right? If you give sound, then the energy dispersed through like voice and here. So they want all the energy going down here. So they don't want you to make any sound, right? I'm ready. I'm like, I have my legs up. I'm breathing like this. And they're like, okay, 1, 2, 3. Then you know what the annoying thing is? Okay, they count to 10. 1, 2, 3. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. They don't end there. What's annoying is they go, okay, 10, but a little bit more. You can do it. I'm like, why the fuck did you count to 10? I was expecting it to 10 so I can relax. But they're like, a little bit more. You can do it. Yeah, okay, now relax. I was like, oh. So that I had to get the baby ready to go down there, right? And they also told me, if you don't do this, then the baby cannot come down there. Oh, I pushed it well. Luckily, it only took me maybe like 30-ish minutes for me to do that. Wow, I'm feeling that lightheadedness. But if you actually try to push without making sound, you get really lightheaded, And funny story is Mia's listening to just all of the sound that I'm explaining to you, not seeing it visually, but just through the sound. So he told me later on that he was panicking. But now that, like the baby's somewhat down there, they were like, okay, we're gonna call in the doctor and we're gonna really push the baby out. And that's when like the nurses they wouldn't push me up here, luckily not yet. But I think that was for later on. But I was like, doctor? You were the doctor, who are you? I think she was like a resident to become a doctor, but I wasn't sure who she was, and I wasn't really caring about that right now. I was trying to get this baby out, right? So the doctor comes in. She's like macho, man. All the doctors I was seeing was like so skinny and everything. Now the lady comes, and I've been seeing all these skinny girls, right? Come. How are they going to push the baby out, right? Well, the doctor comes and she's like super muscular. She's like, oh, I'm ready to like pull the baby out type of, lady. But she comes and she's like, okay, let's go. Gloves. I was like, whoa. She seems pretty like, oh, I can trust this lady, right? She's like, okay, mom, we have to do this real quick so both you and the baby can be safe. That's what she's like saying. I was like, oh, shiz. Like, it felt like the main protagonist came, right? Yeah, she seemed like a quarterback, right? So I was like, okay. Now, when you have a contraction, I want you to push. And I was like, I knew what that meant. Okay, so the contraction, as you guys know, come maybe like every minute or two. So when that contraction comes, the doctors are ready to try to pull the baby out. And when they're trying to pull the baby out, they actually have to like do a little like, fitting the puzzle. As in, the baby just doesn't come out straight. They have to turn the head around to pull a certain far, and then they have to change the shoulder to pull a little bit out, and then they have to juggle around like this. So it's not that easy when they're trying to pull it out. So I'm on my, I'm getting ready to pull and I'm like feeling the contraction, and this, the baby will go. 잠깐만, let me just double check. You woke up! I'm sorry.